one of the things that I think that also needs to be considered, right, is there's a lot of static elements that contribute to the analysis of our network. Things that don't change, things that don't show up in logs, things that don't show up as metrics that are kind of steady state, but have an impact on the analysis of what's going on.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. So how do you correlate not only disparate sets of data, because that's an incredibly challenging problem, like to your point, numbers, sentences. I'm sure there's probably 15 other, ingestion formats that could exist beyond those two. But then how do you take into consideration the things that are static that are not generating those things?
Yeah,
there's a context to what is taking place, right?
Yes.
And the context is not necessarily ingested through telemetry or SNMP. So to Jordan's point, how are you making the correlation in light of that context to drive the actionable insight?
Yes. And Javier is sitting in the back, and he pointed this out just before the presentation yesterday. You need to include metadata as well in this slide, right? The metadata is a very important piece of information that generally gets missed in our system. So since I don't have a slide description for that, we have a first-class integration to metadata stores. Netbox is the most commonly used store these days, and we connect into Netbox. We use the Netbox API, suck in that information, and those tables exist in the system as a data element. And as when streams is coming in, they start getting joined and they start getting used as well.
How do you reconcile that with your strategy of ingesting all the data only as long as you need it to build insights? Are you just like redoing that process on some interval, or like how does that work?
So two parts to that. The meta stores are not voluminous.
Okay.
Right.
You treat that data a little bit differently.
Yeah. Because even though we don't expose it to the users, these retention policies and how long something is stored, our admins do control that. So we have some amount of control where these meta stores can live forever, right? That's number one, because they're a drop in the ocean when it comes to comparing with the other stuff. The other part is even these meta stores, we have a periodicity set to a day sometimes, or very infrequent. And the third option is where some of our savvy customers says, hey, I know when I've updated my meta store, just give me a button that I know I've updated it. Even I'm going to make an API call that will call your ingest on demand, or I'm going to log into the portal and do things. So combination of these three things allow us to get in metadata into the platform.